Hi, Chrissy here, and I wanted to do a quick video on the Headless Horseman run this year since it's different than previous years. I'll talk more about this in a moment, but I don't see a lot of people getting the curses this year, so I wanted to make sure you can see what it's about. You can get curses by clicking on the ominous Wicker Man and selecting I accept all of your curses. This will add additional obstacles to the fight along with other benefits I'll go over shortly. But before you see the fight with all of the curses, I think it's important to see the fight without any of them so you can see the difference, especially if you've not run this at all this year. If you have run it, you can skip ahead to the fight with the curses later in the video. If you ran this fight in the past, you might remember that his head came off and you fought that for part of the fight. Well, they removed that part and it's all about him now. You shouldn't have to switch targets in the fight unless you're saving the healer from the ads. Now he has some basic abilities throughout the fight. He has fire that comes out in 3 directions, but you can stand in between the sections if needed. I usually get too close and get hit if I'm not really paying attention. It shouldn't one-shot you, but don't get hit twice. He summons ads. You should be able to AoE down. And then at some point there is a purple circle put around you. Now, when this purple circle is put around you, you do not want to be around other people because it's a fear and will fear anyone else that's in the circle with you. So that's most of the fight. If the fight keeps going on, which usually it will because there's people taking curses, there will be another ability here in a little bit that you'll see. Now, if most of the group has taken the curses, this fight will end up taking pretty long. So, if the fight does go on this long, he casts something called Hothead that puts like a pulsating dot on you that drops fire on the ground. Now, you don't want to stand in that because, of course, you'll get damage. Now, the worst part of the fight is trying to avoid getting stuck on the graveyard items all around, which I personally think is the biggest challenge of this event. The next is obviously getting the special drops, which this year includes a new pet called Arphis and a Windborn Velocidrake Hallow's End armor. So I think that about wraps up the original one. So now for the fight with curses. When you first load in, you're going to run over to the ominous Wicker Man on the left and select all of the curses. These fights usually are full of people either skipping the curses or they already know what they're doing, so you probably won't have time to check out what each individual curse is unless you are in a group of people you know. They disappear after the fight, so you can only check them out in the beginning. Now, these curses create a hard mode style fight and supposedly increase the odds of various special loot. Each curse adds a new obstacle in the fight. Each time you fail a curse, it adds a debuff to you that adds up. If you get to 10, you get stunned and fail the curse phase. So the original abilities are still there that you saw earlier in the fight, but during the fire phase called Pumpkin Breath, you also get small purple circles exploding things in them. You need to avoid those while avoiding the fire too. Then there is another large purple circle that shoots up damage that you need to avoid. It seems to show up during the ads phase, which is called Vine March. You want to avoid standing in those as well. After the purple circle with the fear goes around you, a ghost figure of yourself is created and heads toward a spot. Now you need to get that down and attack it before it gets to the spot it's heading to, or you get the debuff. So as you can see, it's very much like the original fight, just with an additional little obstacle for each of the phases. As it keeps going on, there's a chance it's going to go later and later. It takes longer with the curses as well. So once it gets to that later phase, which is the hothead phase, there's also going to be another ability right here. A purple ball that pops up and starts causing damage for you. You want to run over to the purple ball and onto it. Otherwise, you get the debuff. Now, it's pretty easy to fail if you cannot move a lot. Even with a class that moves a lot, I tend to get hit on a few runs. Now, I've sped up the rest of this fight because it can take a while depending on the group you get. If you haven't failed at the end, you'll get the achievement Kickin' with the Wick for doing the fight with all 4 curses. Now, of course, there are other achievements that you might get if you've never run this on that character before. So the event ends the morning of November 1st. If you miss out on it this year, everything should be available again next year, as with most seasonal events. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the game.